I will repeat, the government has declassified the fact that they, over 3,000 times from the 40s to the 70s, sprayed chemical, biological, and radiological weapons and other mixes on the American people. They do it all the time now. AIDS virus, hepatitis C, knowingly, on purpose in the drugs. Hundreds and hundreds of other examples I don't have time to get into. Black men and syphilis, sterilizing 400,000 American women for no reason. On and on and on. So you've got these Malthusian, Dr. Piankian, remember the UT scientist who gets the 95% standing ovation saying he wants to kill everybody? Dr. Peter Singer, Prince Philip, Ted Turner, Prince Charles, the Club of Rome. These are Henry Kissinger documents, CIA, all public. I got to make a film about this, population reduction. In fact, that's on the burner to do. I just am so crazy busy all the time. We're going to try to do it, though, in my Bilderberg film that's coming out whenever I get that done. But you know, this is the reality. And so they are drying out the planet. They are darkening the planet. They are manipulating a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of key areas of our biosphere. And then you've got all the low-altitude spraying. It's a whole other separate area. Now, Clifford Carnicom is with us for another 20 minutes and 30 seconds to be precise. So let's go to your calls. Please have your question, your comments to be brief so the next person gets time. Dave in California, thanks for holding. You're on the air with Clifford Carnicom.
Thanks, Albert. Hi, Mr. Carnicom, and thank you for everything you do. I have 2 data points for you. I live in the Pacific Northwest, and especially this last year I've been watching very closely. What we're seeing here is off the coast at low level, we're seeing multiple laydowns just in front of the marine layer when it comes on shore in the afternoon and evening. Always in front of wet weather storms, and just this last year was happening in front of every storm that we had, and we had 150% of rainfall this year. That's number one. And number two, and this is really disturbing to me, I've noticed that we don't see any insects around here anymore at all. There was white light on all night last night outside, and I went and looked this morning. There were 2 little moths and a couple of bugs circling the light. This is an area that's a wilderness. There's almost nobody living here. This place should be swarming with bugs. There's no mosquitoes.
There are reports that in industrialized nations, insect levels are way down.
Yeah.
Let me get a comment from Clifford Carnicom.
I think good observations and exactly on mark, very much the case. These operations are destroying these storms. They are coming ahead of them, and they're destroying the storms.
Are they trying to cause them to dump all their moisture before they get inland to the areas like Idaho and other areas?
I personally think that what you're actually doing is absorbing the energy from the storms and redirecting it. In other words, trying to capitalize on that energy within a storm and to redirect it for other purposes.
What's the goal? Why would they want to do this?
Energy is powerful. Energy makes things happen. If you can control energy, you can do things. This is how weapons are created in the directed energy weapons, ion weapons, plasma weapons.
Dave, I appreciate your call. We're going to have to move on. Great points. Global warming. We know that we're not really having global warming. We're having global, very dangerous, fast-moving change is what's happening. Could the globalists be trying to create all sorts of climate shifts and huge disasters as a way to scare us into accepting this new global tax they're proposing through the global warming hysteria they're pushing?
Well, what I can say is they are happening. It's hard for me to determine intent, but what I can say is what's happening. And it is happening. For a long time, you still find people. They're out there saying this stuff is protecting the Earth, and this is cooling the Earth, and this is counteracting global warming. My work shows exactly the opposite. If you look at the effects of these materials, or physics of these materials, it is expected. It is expected that they heat up the Earth.
Well, this is what I expect.
They dry it out and they heat it up. They don't cool anything down.
They dry it up and they heat it up. But if I had the power to manipulate the weather, I would have a federal bureau of it. I would be announcing it. I would be admitting it. They have these technologies. That's declassified, but they cover them up and deny them. That shows they don't want people looking at this. Our government right now could have killed Hurricane Katrina and Rita. Our government didn't. The question is why?
Yeah, it's a combination of both of these things, both as well as covering it up, as well as manipulating how it is released to the public. We're now at the point where you have a bill, and apparently this thing is just you know, in position.
Yeah, the Weather Control Board, yeah.
Yeah, you have a bill on board to basically legalize that which is already being done upon us, which is the way this situation commonly works.
My Senator, Kay Bailey's pushing it.
Yeah, so I mean, that's there. Okay.
But then you tell the general public still they can control the weather. They go, and little green men, too. Let's go ahead and talk to George in Indiana. George, you're on the air.
Yeah, I live in central Indiana, and they seem to do all their spraying at night, because when I get up about daybreak, I see them all in the air. I mean, like, wow, Grand Central Station in the skies, you see streams everywhere.
And it wasn't there 7, 8 years ago, was it, George?
Oh, no, I'm 57, and I do notice, I don't know if it's just my imagination, but it seems like the sun is a whole lot brighter than it was when I was a kid.
Well,
that can be a lensing effect because of the atmospheric differential. That's why the sun looks bigger on the horizon, because you're looking through the atmosphere at its thickest point over hundreds of miles, not just through the 20 miles straight up. But what you just said is true. NASA just announced that they thought the last 11.5-year cycle was the biggest ever. Now they're reporting the sun is on line to be 50% brighter in the next cycle. Go ahead, Clifford Carnicom.
Well, the UV, the ultraviolet indices are, up. It's so interesting. You can actually look at a lot of the popular claims that are out there, and you can actually gauge that indeed it may be an intentional disinformation mode to do so, because they'll claim that this material is somehow there. It's always somehow. The mechanics and physics are never really explained. It's just somehow this has to be helping us.
Clifford, before I forget, did you see the big write-up on the federally written textbook where they tell the kids that the government's putting a sunscreen up there to keep us safe?
I absolutely did.
Give us your take on that.
Manipulation, indoctrination, influencing the population to accept a state of affairs as being normal.
That's a textbook being used nationwide, written by the government, that is used by 8th graders.
Yes. I was at the bookstore just a couple of weeks ago, and I go through meteorology books occasionally and such. You have a meteorology book out there now, which has a whole new generation. I'm not going to call them clouds. I use 3 words. I use contrails, clouds, and aerosols. I actually don't use the word chemtrails. In this meteorology book, we'll find now an entire new generation of constructed forms. And I won't even call them clouds because they don't qualify. That did not exist. Go pick up the aviation charts pre-90 and look at the cloud forms that are there in the textbooks, aviation book, meteorology books. Go look at what's being described now to the kids in popular literature in terms of cloud types and infinite variations of things that have no physical basis, unless you introduce a water-loving salt material that completely changes the dynamics and physics.
Changing our atmosphere. They're terraforming Earth to make it a desert planet, sir?
Well, it is what's happening.
We're being reverse So we're being reverse terraformed. Are you saying that's a good term?
All I can say is this material is locking up the moisture that would be going into our water table. It is locking that moisture up, and there is energy that is being held within those.
So is this the opposite of, say, taking Mars and making it green? I'm saying, is this a type of terraforming?
Well, it fits, Alex. I'll say that. It fits if you're changing the climate of the Earth on a global level, and the water levels are being altered. Then what is that other than I'm not going to say again that's an intent. I can only go into it. But what's the result? The result is, yes, a form of terraforming. Terraforming means changing the Earth, right?